Ladies and gentlemen, over the course of this video, I'm going to introduce you to the 3 principles from Neville Goddard I used to manifest $1.3 million in business. Before I give you those 3 principles, I need to introduce you to the one thing you need to avoid. It's going to be the biggest mistake when it comes to struggling to manifest. And we're going to dive into it right now. What Neville Goddard says is change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world you live in. Now, this is going to be the one thing you need to avoid that's going to be preventing you from manifesting. So to change our concept of self, we are going to be living in 2 states, right? We're going to be living in a state of object referral or a state of self-referral. Now let's break down object referral, because object referral is going to be the thing that prevents you from manifesting. When you put yourself in the state of feeling your desired outcome and you can sense that shift, you're like, oh my God, I'm experiencing this change. And then you look to the world to see if you manifest anything. You're like, nothing's changing. You start to spiral back down to that old version of you. That is because you are living in a state of object referral. Now, object referral means we are making decisions about our validity, our identity, our success, our concept of self through external sources, right? We're looking for external validation. So as soon as you look for something like your manifestation, you are trying to validate an internal shift, something you changed within yourself by looking for something external, which is an illusion of the material world. Now, just know that the internal world is the realm of cause. And the external world, or the realm of effect, is the material realm. Now, the one thing that's sabotaging your manifestation is the fact that you are immediately looking for a shift in the external world, the realm of effect, to validate something that actually shifts internally, right? Now, why is this so important to understand? Because one of Neville Goddard's main core teachings, he says, be still and know that you are which you desire to be. Now, what does he mean by this? If we're living from a place of self-referral, he says, be still and know that you are what you desire to be. What does he mean by that? Now, let's break this down through another form of energetics so you'll be able to see it. If we look at this energetically through something like the spectrum of consciousness, let's say the frequency we desire to embody is right here. It's A. And we have to shift the internal world, right? We're shifting our intention, our desire, our thoughts and emotions to curate that vibrational match. Now, when it came to me manifesting $1 million in business, I had to control the inputs, right? The inputs were the thoughts and emotions, how I perceived the situations happening to me, how I perceived getting rejected in business deals, how I perceived posting videos that flopped. Now, because I was able to transmutate my perception, I was starting to be able to more consistently manifest this level of abundance. Now, this was the vibrational match of $1.3 million. Now, it takes time for it to manifest in the physical world, but it manifests instantly in the energetic realm because we can do it from shifting our internal state of self-referral. Now, if I come to the realization that from this place of self-referral, I was being resilient, I was being abundant, I was being disciplined, I was being consistent, then I know that I am embodying the frequency of the $1 million that I want to manifest. But if I go to the world of external validation, the state of object referral, and I'm like, why haven't I manifested this physical thing or this energetic concept in the material world? I'm immediately putting my vibrational frequency to a place of lack. So I'm lowering myself down to a frequency of scarcity, a frequency of greed, that fiercity of lack that we want to grow from. And because I do that, I am creating this energetic illusion of separation in between me and where I want to be. Now, this is one of the most important things to understand, is because when you create this separation, you're observing lack and you're not living from the embodiment. When we're living from the embodiment, we're living from a place of self-referral, right? This is why they say, as within, so without. So I'm just going to put within here because this is the frequency that you curate. And when you do this, you start to refer your success and your idea of wealth and abundance to an internal state that you had. And as soon as you start to do this, you start to more consistently channel this frequency because you're curating at all times. And the more consistently you do this, you're going to show up as this person that's going to be able to manifest the material because it started internally. So just know this is going to be the one concept that sabotages your manifestation. Now let's move in to the 2 more principles that I use to actually manifest $1.3 million in business and experience more abundance. Now, if you are looking to manifest more abundance, more health, more wealth, more prosperity in your life, and you're struggling to apply these teachings, you just seem to not be able to overcome those limiting beliefs, overcome that old version of yourself, but you know you're on the brink of transformation. You know you're on the edge of manifesting everything you wanted and more. I want you to click the link in the description because I'm taking calls if you want to work with me in a more one-on-one, intimate setting and unlock a state of manifestation and transformation in yourself as a conscious creator. So click the link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. The next thing we're going to talk about is something from Neville Goddard's book called Infinite Potential. And he spends a large majority of the book finding metaphors in life, in the Bible, to describe what actually goes on when we are in a state of manifestation. Now, moving on to point 2 here, this is called the I am consciousness. Now, in simple terms, what this translates to is you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are being. Right, guys? So this is coming back full circle. And I'll even kind of use some color coordination here for you to see what we're talking about. Right? You manifest what you are being. Right? This is that object of self-referral. Now we're going to break this down through the I am consciousness concept, but everyone's so focused on manifesting what you want, right? But this is that 3D material. This is that object. He literally says you don't manifest what you want. You don't actually manifest the thing in the material world. You actually manifest what you are being because we are getting a direct vibrational match in reality to our concept of self. Now, the secret with this is you are in permanent communication with the source energy. Now, what is this source energy? This source energy is the I am consciousness. Now, if we break this down a little further, we can look at this through what Dr. Joe Dispenza says as the quantum field. But it's not just a statement. This is not just a statement about, dude, this black marker is giving me trouble today. It's not just a statement of identity. It's the point of creation. So the I am consciousness is the source of creation. Why would this be? Now, let's look at this through a variety of different lenses. Now, what Dr. Joe Dispenza says is the source of all material world comes from the quantum field. And the quantum field is 99.9% pure energy. So, for lack of a better word, the quantum field is the source of all creation. It's the immaterial place right? The non-matter in which the matter comes from. Now, why is this so important to understand? Because we are actually made of this too. Every cell in our body comes from this quantum field, right? Now, knowing this, we know that everything in the material experience shares this one thing in common. And now let's kind of look at this through what Neville Goddard says. This same exact thing, the quantum field, the source of creation, is unconditioned consciousness. But I'm going to use a synonym for consciousness, which is unconditioned awareness. Remember what I said? You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are being. Awareness is that which I am aware of being. We're going to write that too. Aware of being. Now, when I come back full circle to the business and I manifested a business that generated over 7 figures online, I had to change what I was aware of being, right? Was I that version of me that was smoking weed? Was I that version of me that was drinking? Was I that version of me that would choose the simple short-term pleasure over the long-term work that I knew that would actually lead to the creation of the business and the wealth and abundance in my life? This was a big shift for me, right? I had to change what I was conditioning reality to be. Now, some traits of this quantum field is that it's 99.9% energy, and this energy is aware. Now, this awareness is also energetic, right? This is where the wave and particle come together as one. This is why we have the concept of duality, because both states are existing at once. That's the paradox in it. Now, here's the secret. What they say is, you cannot have two masters. So we're just going to say, you cannot have two masters. What does this mean? In our awareness, our master cannot be both the new and old version of ourselves, right? It's one or the other. So if we come back full circle to the concept that I said that is kind of sabotaging your manifestations, if you have goals of becoming a new person, but you are focused on the fact that you are not that person, then you are energetically collapsing thoughts and emotions that are conditioning the unconditioned consciousness to manifest more of that in your life, solely from the act of resisting it, right? Now, if you kind of remove your entire awareness of who you don't want to be and only focus on the inputs that make you who you want to be, you are creating a new master for yourself. And this master is going to be what you manifest more of in your life. Because this is the source of creation, right, the I am consciousness, you're going to say, I am abundant now, even though I used to be scarce. But you're not saying, I am not abundant because I feel scarcity. You see how that's programming the old version of yourself? You are stepping into a state where you are consciously choosing the version of yourself you want to be. Now, this I am consciousness becomes your identity. And what becomes your identity becomes your reality, right? Your personality, identity, is your personal reality. So let's look at this. Now I'm keeping up all these images so you just have multiple metaphors and angles to look at this through, right? But I am consciousness, blank, right? This is our identity. What are we holding about ourselves in reality, right? Because when we hold a certain concept in our mind, we are going to experience emotions that we electromagnetically draw back to us to validate this experience. And when we feel these emotions, we are going to think more of those thoughts that resonate at that frequency, and we're going to communicate that back to the quantum. This is the secret. If you are looking to overcome an old version of yourself, the first thing you need to do is surrender who you do not want to be. You need to figure out what you want to keep outside of your awareness. Because if we know manifestation is always instant, because we're always in communication with the energetic field, if I want to focus on my financial success, I cannot focus on the fact that I am going to lose. You have to be delusionally optimistic. But just in other words, you have to keep a majority and all of your awareness focused on your intention and your goals. Now, what happens when we experience this internal shift, right? Let's say we want to condition and say, I am worth $1.3 million, right? This is what we want to program the unconditioned consciousness with. What's going to happen? What is going to happen? So like we said, instant manifestation is your internal state. And your internal state is what you hold in self-referral. Now, I promise you guys, I go to the gym. These markers are just messing with me right now. This is self-referral. This is our internal state, right? Now, we're going to look at this in a variety of ways. Over here, we're going to put object referral, right? Just know this is the material world. Now, what Joe Dispenza says is we need to be able to overcome our body, our time, and our environment of a past familiar experience in order to manifest something new from ourselves. So let's say this is the new version of ourselves we want to manifest. The version of ourselves going to make money. For me, this was a version of myself that had to overcome being $80,000 in debt, right? So this $80,000 debt version of me was smoking weed. I was drinking. And I wasn't doing the work. Right? This is the material experience I was engaging with. It curated a certain way I felt in my body, a certain way I looked at time and my anxiety over the future and my worry about the past, and certain people that I surrounded myself with in my environment, right? Now, as I was changing, the first thing I had to do was remove that from my awareness. And when I removed that from my awareness, I had to figure out who I wanted to condition myself to be or condition my identity to be. And I was like, I'm going up to this new version of me. And what did this new version of me do? I wanted to be disciplined. I wanted to have ingenuity in business. I wanted to think of new ways to make money people weren't thinking about. I wanted to be abundant. I wanted to experience peace. Now, do you notice the difference right here? The version of myself that actually manifested the $1.3 million, I changed my internal state. When I changed my internal state, I started to attract more of that frequency to myself. Now, this is going to lead us full circle, and we'll kind of step into a grander understanding of this information for the final phase. And that final phase is going to be talking about a bridge of incidents. Now, what the universe does when you have a shift in your internal state is that it's going to bring you experiences to test your frequency. Now, if you are in a state of discipline, ingenuity, abundance, and peace, you're going to have to choose things that align with that. Because what the universe will also do will give you opportunities to collapse your old frequency because your subconscious is programmed for those experiences, right? It's actually easy, even though you're beginning to transform, it would be easy for you to go back to the weed. It would be easy for you to go back to the drinking. It would be easy for you to go back to putting off the work, right? You're going to have that opportunity as well. But as soon as you reject this, you say, I do not want more of this. That's an internal state of self-referral. You're saying, I'm not looking for objects in the external world to be happy. I'm not looking to numb myself. I'm not looking to find short-term pleasures. And as soon as you do this, you can increase the time span to experience more success and abundance because you're going to be more consistently choosing this version of yourself, right? So what I started to do was I spent more time alone. I was having nights in. I was going to the gym a lot. I was actually working. So these were things that I was doing in my body, my time, in my environment that started to validate my new experience. This is what I was programming the I am consciousness with. This was the secret to how I actually started to manifest instantaneously. Now, we can look at some traits that I was choosing from. When I wanted to experience more financial abundance, I'm going to give you guys a tool set for overcoming that old version of ourselves. Right? So we're going to look at 3 different things that happened to me. And this will kind of build into the bridge of incidences. So that's actually what we'll move on to right now. So the final step, the 3rd principle from Neville Goddard that helped me manifest $1 million was understanding a bridge of incidents. Right? Now the beautiful thing is a manifestation, you don't have to worry about the how. So that's one thing I'm going to put right here, is forget how. All you need to do, right? The only box you need to check off is, are you embodying that frequency of self-referral and living from that state of internal alignment when you're conditioning the I am consciousness? Now, let's look at how to navigate things life throws our way, right? We're going to be given opportunities to prove our new frequency. So let's say this is the new grant. I'm just going to say this is $1.3 million G. We are going to have to prove to the universe that this is the new frequency we want. So life is going to give me an experience. Now just know when I draw the 3D, it's just saying, oh, this is something life is throwing my way to test my frequency, right? So this is coming to me, and I have an opportunity of how I respond. Now, what happened to me early on when I was $80,000 in debt, I told myself I have to entirely let go of my business that put me in debt and embark on a new journey. So the old version of Grant would have been attached to the business saying, this is what got me here. This is my life purpose. I have to ride this out. The captain goes down with the ship, right? But that new version of me chose a new business model. This is life giving me an opportunity to choose a new frequency. Now, what happened in this process was I signed my first client. Her name was Taylor. We're going to call her Client 1. Now, what happened was I closed my first $5,000 deal. I'm like, this is great. And now part of it was I would get a percentage of everything she made that I helped her create. Now, what happened is we came to the drop date. We came to the drop date to drop the product, and she's like, I don't want to do this. I'm not aligned with it. I'm like, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy that we invested all this time and built this entire product. Now, what happened is life gave me another experience. I had to choose, right? Was I going to give up because it got hard? Or was I going to be resilient on this path to manifesting $1.3 million grant? Now, I told her, I said, hey, that's fine, but can you introduce me to your new client? I had a growth mindset. I was like, can you introduce me to your sphere of influence and the people you're connected to? And if you do that, we'll kind of let this be bygones, water under the bridge, and we'll go from here. Now, the reason this is so important is because I could have totally self-sabotaged. I could have gone back to smoking weed. I could have gone back to drinking and said, this isn't going to work because I looked to the external world for manifestation, right? That was a state of object referral. Just because it didn't look how I wanted it to doesn't mean I was going to give up on the shift I made internally. So I had a growth mindset. I was experiencing more resilience. This is the secret. Now, let's kind of build off of this from here. What happened? I signed my second client. Now, I got client 2. This is the bridge of incidences, right? So this is the universe bringing me things in life to... What Neville Goddard says is even if it takes 1,000 people, those 1,000 people consciously or unconsciously will be set into motion to bring your manifestation to life. Now, this bridge of incidences and those 1,000 people involved, the universe sets into motion a series of unexpected events. So the second thing for me, after I asked my client to introduce me to her network, was I got client 2. And this was the client. This is the $1 million client. This is where we did all the business. Now, we started doing business in July. Then we did our first product job in September, and we did $30,000 in 2 days. Boom, beautiful. Then we're like, hey, let's get back to the drawing board. Let's evolve this product. $30,000 was cool, but we knew we could do more. We could be like, hey, we can just stay here and stay comfortable, right? Universe was giving me opportunities to prove what I wanted. And I said, no, we have to keep pushing. So in October, we did our first $100,000 week. Boom. Then we had Black Friday come up. Then we had New Year's come up. And this series of unexpected events started to unfold, and we launched $1 million business in 6 months. Now by February, we did $267,000. I was consciously choosing experiences through my perception, right? What I was conditioning the unconditioned consciousness with to validate the fact that I wanted to be $1 million grant. In 6 months, we launched an offer to $1 million. And it continued going on. Now, that $1 million offer died. So, in March and April, that $1 million offer slowed down. I was forced to be poised with another choice from life. I'm going to call this the rebound. We had 2 options. We could give up again, or we could relaunch with a new strategy. So we relaunched with a new strategy. We're saying we're not going to that scarce, energetic state of lack, that energetic state of fear. We're going to continuously align with what we want to manifest. Now, for me, this is what I wanted to condition the unconditioned consciousness with. Now, the traits of what I was experiencing when we relaunched, and we relaunched to $200,000 in 8 weeks again, those were actually just experiences in life that were directly correlated to internal shifts. Now, what were these internal shifts? What was I embodying internally? I was embodying resilience, clarity, right? I knew where I wanted to go, so I was willing to do anything to overcome the lower levels. We're embodying grit. We're embodying ingenuity, our ability to see and relaunch in ways the market didn't understand. This is what I was conditioning the internal state with. So this is what the energetics of $1.3 million grant was, saying, hey, I'm not accepting anything less than what I know I'm worth. Right? This was my internal frequency. And because I held this with conviction internally, the material world started to respond to me. The business started to do really well, and it continued to do really well. And this thing still kind of pans out to my life. Yesterday, for example, Sunday night, I filmed a video about Neville Goddard and the Bridge of Incidents. Never heard about it. Never heard about that concept or the explanation. Then Monday rolls around, and I was a little out of it. I was in a little energetic state. I was being tested by an old frequency. I said, you know what, Grant? Get down to the basics. Get down to what you love. So I went to the gym and listened to a podcast by Wayne Dyer. I felt this inspiration. I was like, you need to write. You love writing. You love communicating. What would the first chapter of a book, if you wrote it, be called? Man in His Search for Meaning. That was the idea I downloaded. 15 minutes later in the podcast, Wayne Dyer mentioned someone that he used to have required readings for. It was this guy named Viktor Frankl, and all his students had to read this book by him. Guess what the book was called? Man in His Search for Meaning. I'm like, that's crazy. I come home, tell my roommate about it, and she's like, that's my dad's favorite book, and I actually think I might have it. She hands me the book. The universe brought me something through this bridge of incidents, and I instantly manifested it. But it all started with that internal shift, my return to a state of self-referral. Because yesterday when I was in a state of bad vibes, it was because I was in a place of object referral. I was looking at business metrics. I was looking at content metrics, things that just kind of messed up my vibe. So I had to put myself back in a state of self-referral and self-realization and shift my internal frequency. And when I did that, the universe started to reflect more of that experience back to me. And this is the secret. You don't have to worry about the how. The funny thing is sometimes the how is just out of your comprehension. The divine mind is pulling strings you can't even see. And if you know this, all you have to do is focus on embodying. That's the one thing we talked about, right? Embodying is to hold the internal state. And if you're looking for external referral, then you're not embodying it. You're not embodying the resilience. You're not embodying the clarity. You're not embodying the grit. You're not embodying the ingenuity. Because you're looking, if we bring it full circle to the quantum physics, you're looking for this thing in the three-dimensional world. That's an illusion. It's only 0.0001% of the energetic spectrum. When what you do need to be focused on is the internal state. And that internal state is that 99.9% energy that we condition the unconditioned consciousness with. So going full circle, the one thing you need to remember that's sabotaging your manifestation is immediately looking to an external place for validation that you had an internal shift. It's not your job to worry about the how. The material world, the world of manifest, is going to change as long as you embody that internal frequency of self-referral that we program in a high vibe state, right? We're feeling that internal desire. We're feeling that internal shift. We're making new decisions, new choices, new beliefs, new actions. That's all we need to do. The material world will shift eventually. It's not your job to worry about the how. From there, we need to move on that, hey, when we actually do want to manifest, we're conditioning an unconditioned energy of pure potential. So if you are not conscious of what your thoughts are, then you are probably experiencing resistance in manifestations because you're unknowingly manifesting a reality you don't want to experience, right? If you're looking to that state of object referral and you're saying, I got this outcome, or I think I got this outcome, I think I manifested this internally, but nothing's changing, you're immediately signifying lack, which is putting you back in that old state. Now, if we condition the I am consciousness with a state of self-referral, and we change our internal state to experience the traits that we know are in alignment with what we want to manifest, then we will be able to sit in that, have discipline, have devotion. And the more consistently we do that, we do not have to worry about the how, because we're going to start to see these synchronicities in this magic. Just like the story of the confirmation I got yesterday. I'm telling you, it was more effortless than effortless to get that book sent to me from the universe. I didn't even have to try. Now, knowing that you're going to experience synchronicities like that, you don't need to worry about the how. All you need to worry about is how you can change that internal state. When you change that internal state, as within, so without. No man can receive anything unless it's from heaven. That heaven is that I am consciousness that you condition. So these are 3 principles that I used to manifest $1.3 million in business. Now, if you like this video, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.